The 2005 MLB Draft is one of the better draft classes of the 2000s, and we're going to go back in time and redraft the top 10 picks from this draft. Before we get started, I've got two rules for this redraft. Number 1, the player drafted had to have signed with a team in 2005. For example, Buster Posey, Tim Lincecum, and Justin Turner were all drafted in the later rounds of 2005, but none of these guys signed with a team, so I'm not going to include these guys in this redraft. Number 2, we are operating in a world where teams will take the best player available. Alright, without further ado, let's redraft the 2005 MLB Draft. With the first overall pick back in 2005, the Arizona Diamondbacks took Justin Upton. While he's certainly not the best player from this draft, it wasn't a bad pick at all, and he'll definitely find himself in the top 10 of this redraft, but I have to go with Andrew McCutchen with the first overall pick in this redraft. The Pirates drafted McCutchen 11th overall back in 2005, and he became the centerpiece of the team and led the Pirates back to the postseason in 2013 after a 20-year drought. During his time in Pittsburgh, he made 5 consecutive All-Star teams from 2011 to 2015 and brought home an MVP award in 2013 to go along with 2 third-place finishes and 1 fifth-place finish. While he's slowed down a bit in terms of his production, he's currently settling into a 3-year deal with the Philadelphia Phillies and is adding a veteran presence at the top of their lineup. Alex Gordon was taken 2nd overall by the Royals in 2005, and you can't really fault this pick. He was an instrumental piece in bringing the Royals to a World Series appearance in 2014 and a World Series title in 2015, but in this redraft, the Kansas City Royals are going to take Ryan Braun 2nd overall. Braun has spent his entire 13-year career to date with the Milwaukee Brewers, and he's collected a lot of hardware along the way. From 2008 to 2012, Braun made 5 consecutive All-Star teams, won 5 Silver Sluggers, and earned 3 top 3 MVP finishes, including a first place in 2011. It does need to be pointed out that Braun did admit to taking steroids, and this is certainly a huge stain on his legacy, but I can't justify him getting picked any lower than number 2 with his numbers. We get our first major bust at pick number 3, and of course it was done by the Seattle Mariners. Seattle really hasn't done anything right in recent memory, and in 2005 they selected catcher Jeff Clement with the 3rd overall pick out of USC. Injuries certainly played a huge part in his career, but when the 3rd overall pick only plays 152 Major League games, that's never a great sign. In this redraft, Seattle is going to take Justin Upton 3rd overall. I think people forget how consistent Upton has been over his 12-year career to date. He's been extremely durable, consistently playing over 145 games a season throughout his career, and he has a little hardware to go along with it. Upton is a 4-time All-Star, a 3-time Silver Slugger, and he even came 4th in MVP voting back in 2011. He'll hit you 25 plus home runs a year, and while his defense is a little below average, a consistent bat like Upton's is a hot commodity for any ball club. Now Upton is hurt to start the 2019 season, but assuming he doesn't fall into an injury wormhole, he should be able to play at a high level for another 4 to 5 years. Ryan Zimmerman was taken 4th overall by the Washington Nationals in 2005, and while he's still on the board in this redraft, he's not going to be headed back to Washington. Troy Tulowitzki is going to take his place. To be perfectly honest, I had no idea what to do with Tulo in this redraft. He's quite honestly one of the most talented two-way shortstops of all time when he's healthy, but there's the catch. When has he not been injured? Despite his injury history, he's still a 5-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glove winner, 2-time Silver Slugger, and he's got 2 top 5 MVP finishes to his name. From 2007 to 2013, Tulo was relatively healthy, averaging 121 games a season and hit .297 with a .369 on-base percentage with an .885 OPS. Sure, Tulo's career didn't turn out like we all thought it would, but he still got the 2nd highest WAR from this draft class, and he certainly deserves to be in the top 5 of this redraft. The Milwaukee Brewers, of course, took Ryan Braun with the 5th overall pick back in 2005, but since he's already on his way to Kansas City in this redraft, they'll have to settle with Ryan Zimmerman, who only falls one spot from his original draft position. Zimmerman has been on and off with injuries the last 6 or so years, but his first 8 full years in the big leagues were very consistent, averaging 140 games a year, hitting .284 with a .351 on-base percentage and an .827 OPS. He won 2 Silver Sluggers in that span, a Gold Glove, and made 1 All-Star appearance, and while he struggled with injuries in recent memory, and his career is definitely on the decline, he was an All-Star as recently as 2017, so hopefully he can get healthy again this year and regain that All-Star form for at least one more season. Now, as some of you may know, I'm a Jays fan, so this next pick hurts a little bit. Ricky Romero was taken 6th overall by the Blue Jays back in 2005, and there was actually a whole lot of promise his first 3 years in the big leagues. In 2011, he made his one and only All-Star appearance and had a 2.92 ERA in 32 starts, and then, long story short, he pretty much fell off a cliff and is now retired. There aren't any pitchers that I believe are worthy of going in the top 10 of this redraft to replace Romero, so we're going to go with Alex Gordon. Gordon's first 4 years in the big leagues were not great and spent most of his time at third base during those years, but after a full-time move to left field beginning in 2011, he turned into a completely different ball player. He won 4 straight Gold Gloves beginning in 2011 and added 2 more in 2017 and 2018. He also made 3 straight All-Star games beginning in 2012, and he was a huge part in the back-to-back World Series appearances for the Royals in 2014 and 2015. While his bat has declined in recent years, he's having a very strong start to the 2019 season, and it looks like he actually has a bit more left in the tank. The Colorado Rockies of course took Troy Tulowitzki 7th overall back in 2005, and now that he's off the board, the Rockies are going to take Michael Brantley 7th overall. Now, I probably should have Brantley higher up on this redraft, and if he can stay healthy over the next 4 or so years, he's definitely going to find himself in the top 5 in the future, but his total body of work in his career isn't up to par as the players above him in this redraft. Brantley was drafted by the Brewers in the 7th round back in 2005, and he was sent to the Indians in the CC Sabathia trade in 2008. He made his debut in 2009, and he's a bit of a late bloomer. His first 5 years in the big leagues weren't anything special, but 2014 was a huge breakout year for Brantley. He made his first All-Star team, won a Silver Slugger, and came 3rd in AL MVP voting. He has struggled with injuries following that breakout year, as we all know, but he's still made 2 All-Star teams since that season, and he's now lighting it up for the Houston Astros in his first year with the team. If he can stay healthy from here on out, he's certainly going to find himself higher up on this redraft when everyone's career is said and done. So, if you guys don't know who Wade Townsend is, I don't really blame you. He was taken 8th overall by the Tampa Bay Devil Rays back in 2005, but his career stalled in AA and he never made the big leagues. He did, however, make the World Series of poker, and I'm not joking. Just look at this picture. What a baller. Now, I'm not sure if Brett Gardner is any good at poker, but in this redraft, he's going to be taken 8th overall. Gardner was taken in the 3rd round by the Yankees back in 2005, and he's been a staple in their outfield since 2008. He's never been a star player or anything, but he's about as consistent as they come. He made his one and only All-Star appearance in 2015 and won a Gold Glove in 2016, and has been a great leadoff hitter for the Yankees for most of his career, leading off in 751 career games to date. He's not the player he once was where he could steal upwards to 50 bags in a season, but he's still a veteran leader on the Yankees who need that leadership with the young core they have assembled. With the 9th pick of the 2005 draft, the New York Mets selected Mike Pelfrey, who actually had a 12-year career, but it just wasn't the greatest. He had a couple seasons with the Mets where he had a sub-4 ERA, but there were quite a few 5+ ERA seasons thrown in there as well. He last appeared in a Major League game in 2017 with the White Sox and is now a pitching coach at Newman University. In this redraft, the Mets are going to take JACOBY ELLSBURY, and before you all complain in the comments how bad his current contract is or how his body is made of glass, let's remember how good ELLSBURY was when he was healthy. In 2008 and 2009, he stole 50 and 70 bags respectively, and then in 2011, he went off, finishing 2nd in MVP, hitting .321 with a .928 OPS, 32 home runs, and 105 RBIs, and he also won a Gold Glove for good measure. He hasn't touched that level of play since joining the Yankees, and he hasn't even appeared in a major league game since 2017, but I firmly believe he deserves to be in the top 10 of this redraft. With the 10th pick back in 2005, the Detroit Tigers selected Cameron Maybin, and while he's carved out a 13-year career, he hasn't made any All-Star teams, and he's had difficulty staying in the lineup. He's having a nice little season with the Yankees this year, but that's not going to be enough to keep him in this top 10. Before we get to the pick, here are some of the players that will fall just outside of the top 10. Yunel Escobar, Matt Garza, Clay Buchholz, Jay Bruce, and Austin Jackson. Alright, with the 10th overall pick in this redraft, the Tigers are going to select Chase Headley. Headley hasn't appeared in a game since May of last year, but he's carved out a 12-year career for himself. It has mostly been average with the exception of one season in San Diego where he far and away outperformed any other season of his, where he won a Silver Slugger, Gold Glove, and finished 5th in MVP voting. In that season, he hit .286 with 31 home runs and 115 RBIs. I'm not sure if we'll ever see Headley on a major league field again, but he gets a nice boost in this redraft from his second round selection back in 2005. I hope you all enjoyed this redraft, and if you did, let me know. If there's enough support for this kind of thing, I can kind of make this a series. Maybe every Friday I can release a new redraft, so let me know, and I'll talk to you later.